I am Benjamin Lindley, and today I will be presenting to you my literature project on Divertimento for Band by Vincent Persichetti, and why this piece is a extraordinary cornerstone of wind band repertoire. So, a little bit of overview about Persichetti himself and the context behind the piece. Persichetti is a renowned American composer, educator, and theorist. He has had a major influence on wind band literature, especially in this 20th century time, and he's had a major influence on 20th century theory. Persichetti has a very unique sound that's very unique to him. It's not always tonal. It's not always the most accessible thing to listen to, but it's very iconic, and it's helped shape the American sound as a whole. He's wrote highly structured and modern harmonic works, and he's pushed the landscape for what modern music is, especially art music. And he composed in the 1850s during this major shift in American wind band writing. This piece is very important because it was a big cornerstone of pushing the wind ensemble as an artistic medium instead of just an educational ensemble or military or something taken from military tradition. Persichetti and this work has had a huge influence on later modern wind composers like William Schumann, and this piece really reflects its historical context, moving away from romantic tonal music and more towards modern music that's more pitch-centered writing. Persichetti himself in his writing has said that any two pitches can sound simultaneously. Like that philosophy of any two pitches being able to sound at the same time really pushes forward this idea of modern pitch-centered writing. And Robert Shetland Jr., in his analysis of this piece, wrote that the Divertimento is a piece that provides experienced conductors with an abundance of material for the development of musical energies. Emphasis on musical energies, that's a thing we'll come back to. It is significant and challenging for winds and percussion and demonstrates the composer's unique skill at ingeniously combining layers of sound into an effective synthesis of rhythmic complexity and polytonality. So I'm going to go through each movement and kind of describe it. But before we get into it, I wanted to kind of tell you a bit more about the piece. A divertimento is a lighthearted instrumental musical genre that's typically features multiple movements and is designed for entertainment. And on the program notes, it's written that this piece started out as an orchestral work, but as the winds, brass, and percussion, as those ideas and figures developed, Persichetti eliminated that idea of incorporating strings, and this resulting piece has been described as an alternating sound between a sense of mischief and a pregnant vein of nostalgia, and has become one of the most widely performed works in the entire wind band repertoire. This prologue is a bold introduction, and it predominantly features polytonality, as we hear. It's very call and response textured. You'll hear one thing, and it's immediately followed by another, and it's very bright and open. And I think this bright, open, stately feel is one of my favorite movements, and what really grasps my attention as a listener my first time listening to this piece. So here is the prologue. All right. For each movement, I want to discuss some possible challenges when rehearsing this with your ensemble. These polytonal harmonies and dense back and forth textures are bound to provide challenges for your ensemble. it's very imperative that that you are able to execute these with rhythmic precision. Just in these first two measures, you'll see the brass come in on the downbeat, and immediately followed by the woodwinds, and then the brass. The back and forth nature of this piece isn't always intuitive. Like there's a lot of upbeat entrances and a lot of emphasis on upbeats. So it's very important that you exercise confidence in throughout this whole piece and your players. Balance between lines, making sure this is as stately as this. It's all written at the same dynamic, so it should all come across at the same level, despite the change in color between instruments. So moving to the song, so I'm kind of blocking you there. The song. This movement is very beautiful. It's very dark and haunting. It's very long phrases, very sustained lines. It returns to more of a sense of tonality, but as you'll see, there's great inflection on different modes. It mainly stays in E Phrygian, but Persichetti does this thing where he emphasizes different tonalities at different times. So I think you'll hear that in this piece. Like you'll hear it's kind of an E, it's kind of in D sometimes, but it doesn't change key signatures. It's very beautiful the way he does this. So some challenges about this movement: the long sustained melodies. That cornet solo, very long and sustained. Phrasing and control of that line is very important, and balance between the melody and the accompaniment is very imperative. And then the intonation between the sustained chords, not just these, but the alternating eighth note accompaniments. The intonation between like the different textures, the different roles in the texture is very important. Movement 3, the dance. This movement is defined by its very driving rhythmic energy. And you'll kind of hear how Persichetti takes these traditional forms and does this Persichetti thing and like expands upon them in his little Persichetti style. This isn't something you can really dance to unless you're kind of weird, but it features a lot of contrasts, and it's kind of memorable how like melodious and how fun the flute line is, and then how stately and dark the response to that is. So here is the dance. So difficulty is this: the polyharmony, the polytonality is very difficult to execute well. I recommend you tune one body of the chord. So, for instance, here, tune this G body, and then tune this upper body, the D chord. If you're having challenges with intonation, just take it apart, tune the G chord, tune the D chord, put together. And then this dense back and forth texture, again, rhythmic precision is so imperative here. Just being able to play it all exactly on the subdivision, especially in those faster rhythmic passages. That's just so important. And then, of course, balance between lines again. So, the Bullisk. This is a style of performance art that emphasizes humor and satire. It begins with this iconic and jauntful tuba melody in the rondo, So like the A. And then the stack, and then later on, it expands out into a canon, and it stacks fifths on top of that. So you'll like kind of hear it's just stacking those fifths on top of each other. That quintal kind of idea. Uh, so here it is. So some challenges in this. Uh, Conveying the humor through style is very imperative for this movement, and that requires very rhythmic precision. Uh, uh, a lot of times in this main A theme, it'll be like two measures of that motif, and then a stab in the offbeat. And so making the offbeat lines up is very important. And then later on in the canon, when it expands into this quintal harmony, being able to tune these quintal chords is very essential. So style, intonation, those kind of things. The fifth movement. This one, this soliloquy, is like defined as being alone or speaking alone, and that's conveyed very well in like this trumpet solo that opens the movement. This is probably the most tonal movement, and it's very like reminiscing. It's very like we've arrived and we're reminiscing on what's happened. Very bright and very sparse. So here is the fifth movement. Here is the fifth movement. Here is the fifth movement. All right. Some challenges in this. Intonation and phrasing in this cornet solo can be challenging, and shaping this melody through the longer phrasing, like the second movement, then ensemble balance between at soft dynamics. Movement 6. This movement is probably the most percussive. It's very stately, poly, very polyharmonic, and this very virtuosic woodwind lines. It has this traditional march feel, but with modern harmonic ideas. Like this brass ostinato that features polyharmony, and there's these woodwind ideas that kind of like float around it. It's very bright, and I think you'll like it. So here is the march. Right. The challenges of this intonation of these stacked chords and polyharmonies are going to be difficult, and ensuring that you don't drag these accented offbeats. Rhythm precision is the name of the game here, especially with the percussion ostinato, with all these offbeat entrances, with this brass ostinato. Rhythmic precision is essential here, and then below that, some balance between melody and accompaniment is can be a challenge too. So do that. So some big takeaways about this. Persichetti has this outstanding 20th century philosophy on pitch centricity over traditional tonality. So if you're approaching this piece, it may be important to ensure your ensemble realizes that this isn't just in C major or A Aeolian. Ensuring they at least have a somewhat of a grasp on what's happening here, whether it's explaining the concept of polytonality or explaining what it means to stack different pitches or chords on top of each other. I think this piece is so great because it takes something you understand well, like these clear formal structures. Like it's either always like binary, ternary, or it's like rondo. It's very approachable forms, but then it adds this element of modern harmony and very interesting tonality to it. It makes it very interesting. Each movement features a core ensemble skill and style, and it's very idiomatic of each instrument. And it features each instrument somehow across the whole ensemble. So there's a lot of very interesting contrast between the movements. So when we're rehearsing this, balance, rhythm, precision, and listening are keys to success, and it's very important to emulate these style changes across each movement. And I think your band's a performance piece because it is a cornerstone of modern wind band repertoire. It's an excellent introduction to each instrument of the modern wind ensemble. It's accessible, yet musically sophisticated. It's very approachable as a listener, despite it being this weird 20th century language. It sounds cool. You can't deny how cool it sounds. It bridges traditional band styles with contemporary languages, and it develops core ensemble skills and contrasting styles across movements and across the whole group, making sure your less represented instruments still are being developed and have outstanding repertoire to play. It has high musical and educational value for advanced ensembles. So, thank you. Here's a little snippet of the ending.